morning and welcome back to the lecture series on performative gender and religions in South Asia. We are discussing our module 6, Sufi Mysticism and Poetics. We were talking about the different lyrics, the dohas, the geet, uh, and the Persian ghazals written by Amir Khusrau, composed by Amir Khusrau. So there are some of the themes that keep coming back in Sufi lyrics. Allusion to Holi, the celebration of Holi festival, which is a pan-Indian festival, is very much available and very common in Sufi lyrics. So this is another case in hand which goes on to show how the South Asian avatar of Sufi cult has mingled deeply with the local tradition and is especially influenced by the bhakti tradition that that originated in South India. So, allusion to the festival of colors or Holi comes back recurrently in Sufi lyrics. During the Holi celebration, individuals in a community play with each other and they sprinkle colors as a way of sharing their joy and ecstasy. And this festival is mainly a harbinger. So they sprinkle colors onto each other as a way of sharing joy and mirth. And Holi as a festival mainly celebrates the onset of the spring season, onset of spring. So qawwali composition based on the trope or the theme of rang is very common. A qawwali composition called rang or color based on Amir Khusrau's composition has been sung by Shankar Shambhu Kawal. So this is a qawwali singer. A qawwali singer is called Kawal, and Shankar Shambhu Kawal has sung this qawwali based on the theme of rang, where both the speaker and the addressee are women. It is part of a feminine discourse where color is being talked about, color is being celebrated. The daughter is a speaker who is expressing her ecstasy, her joy through the symbolism of color. So the entire mystical rhapsody is transmitted in the female voices, where the daughter is the speaker and the mother is the listener. This is how the song goes. The rang in qawwali, therefore, like I was saying, is a common trope in the South Asian Sufi context, and it marks the celebration of the speaker's union with the spiritual mentor or the murshid. So, अपनी छवि लेके मैं पी के पास गई, पी की छवि देखी तो अपनी भूल गई, और मोहे अपने रंग में रंग दो ख्वाजा जी. These are some of the tropes that keep coming back again and again in Sufi songs, right? Following are the lyrics of the song that we are discussing, the song sung by Shankar Shambhu Kawal, and this composition is called Rang or Color. आज रंग हैरी रंग हरी मेरे महबूब के घर रंग हैरी मोहे पीर पायो निज़मुद्दीन औलिया देश विदेश में ढूंढी फिर है तोरा रंग मोहे भायो रे निज़मुद्दीन औलिया ऐसो रंग में और नहीं देखी सखीरी. When translated to English, today is the rang, O mother, green is the color. In my beloved's abode is the color, O mother. I, a beloved mentor, Nizamuddin Aulia, have found. Many a country and foreign soil have I searched. Thy color do I fancy, O Nizamuddin Aulia. Such color have I not seen, O my female friend. So here color is referring to the soul. So my soul that wishes to be united, that longs to be united with the transcendental soul, the transcendental color of the mentor of the Murshid, Nizamuddin Aulia. So there are several layers in these poems. I was discussing that. At one level, the girl is telling her mother that she wants to be united with her uh, lover. At another level, the feminine poetic persona of Amir Khusrau wishes to be united with his preceptor, his Murshid, Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia. So the underlying play here with emphasis on color is of celestial nature. It is not merely the color of holy, but also the spiritual color. When the Murshid bestows his knowledge, his knowledge of God to the Murid, he has colored the Murid with his own color. So, bestowing of knowledge, giving what one knows, uh, is like coloring the disciple with one's own spirit, right? This is a celestial or ethereal color that we are talking about, the divine color or rang. The color and celebration has recurrently been used in South Asian Sufi lyrics in order to suggest the Prophet Muhammad's miraj or ascension to heaven. So, Prophet's miraj or ascension to heaven has also been explained. The Prophet's miraj or ascension to heaven has also been described through the symbol of color. Miraj is a favorite qawwali theme in which the musicians invoke the bridal imagery. Amir Khusrau's narrator in the discourse is a daughter. So the daughter talks to her mother, right, about the festivity in her mentor's abode. Aaj rang hari. So the green color is, being celebrated in my mentor's house. So we see that the invocation of the color imagery fits in with the native social and devotional contexts. And when Sufi has arrived in South Asia, it has picked up, it has adapted a lot from the local traditions, local cultures and practices. It has not remained a separate movement. It has been deeply influenced and inspired by the Indic Bhakti movement. And in this particular lyrics, we see that the semantics addresses the mother. In fact, we see that in this particular, uh, lyrics, in the semantics, the mother becomes a channel for manifesting the speaker's ecstasy and joy for her lover. The young girl is expressing her love for the lover, Mehboob-e Ilahi, or God's beloved. Because the lover is not in front of her, she can only express her feelings through the channel of the mother. And who is Mehboob-e Ilahi? None other than Nizamuddin Aulia. So basically, this girl, through this girl, uh, the speaker in this lyric, Amir Khusrau is expressing himself, his own feelings for his Murshid Nizamuddin Aulia or Mehboob-e Ilahi. The melody is full of gender markers. So, for example, in Rang Heri, he is the verb to be, and the fact that there is to be a celebration of the Rang festival. So, for instance, in Rang Heri, he is the verb to be, referring to the fact that there is to be a celebration of the Rang festival. And Re is a female gender marker, a term of address that establishes, intimacy. So Sakhiri, that's a way of referring to one's female companion, one's confidant, and it establishes some kind of close relationship, a kind of a female friend to whom you can confide your hurts, feelings, right? So once again, dhoondna, dhoondhi firi. So dhoondna means to search or look for, and dhoondi, when we say dhoondi, it's a suffix that has a female gender marker. Once again, firna means to roam around, and because dhundi firi, the I suffix is used, dhundi firi, not dhundi fira, but dhundi firi, the reference is once again to a female gender marker. And sakhiri, we are saying here, it is an intimate female friend, the mother being confided to. The mother is being told about the young girl's feelings. She's pouring out her heart to her female companion, right? So, re is uh, a suffix that establishes intimacy. We see that this entire discourse of the lyrics is taking place in a very closed feminine all female cosmos, right? And it has been written by a male poet. This is remarkable. So he considers his poetic persona as a feminized one. All these are distinct syntactic constructions for the female, right? The Sakhiri and Dhundifiri and Rangheri and so forth, right? The marker re-establishes the intimacy of the relationship between the mother and the daughter. It could also be two women from same age group. Uh, and this is also observable in Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan's Punjabi qawwalis, where the re is only replaced by ni. So instead of re, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan in his Punjabi qawwalis uses ni. And there also the speakers are all females. Amir Khusrau created many of his compositions using the bowl or verses that are related to the seasonal festivals and wedding rituals that are also used as Sufi songs in accordance with the context. So Khusrau has named a number of ragas or melodic musical scales after different seasons or different festivals and celebrations. For example, there are compositions called Rag Bahar, commemorating or celebrating the spring season. It's the Rag Bahar is spring melody. Then Rag Holi Khamach, which celebrates the holy melody. Rag Basant, which is once again spring melody. Rag Sarang, which is the music melody, and then Rang or the color melody. So all these different ragas or melodic musical scales have been composed by Amir Khusrau. The call and the tarana are said to be the induction of the Perso-Arabic elements into South Asian music, which lead to the form of qawwali, right? Tarana is especially a contribution in South Asian music by the Perso-Arabic composers. It's Tarana is an element that is induced in South Asian music by the Perso-Arabic composers. So another important and very common trope that keeps coming back in Sufi verses is called babul. The concept of babul and babul ka ghar, and here we take a thumri in our discussion as an example where the theme of babul is prominent. So this lyric and melody that we are going to discuss are both associated with Amir Khusrau, and this video was produced during the 100-year celebrations, the centennial celebrations of the poet in Pakistan. Babul is a wedding tune that the bride's friends sing at the time of her departure from her father's home. The bride's lament is originally inspired by some of the rural songs that are sung during the Awadhi weddings. And there is a strong pathos at the heart of the Babul songs. The lyrics, you know, composed under this trope of Babul. So there is a strong pathos informing the lyrics composed for this theme of Babul. So the melody of Babul is quite similar to the Heer, the theme of Heer that is sung in the Punjabi traditions, which also uh, is supposed to bring the listeners to tears. The listeners tear up while they listen to Heer, while they participate in the Heer melodies. There are esoteric meanings embedded in these compositions. So it is not only the departure of the bride from her Babul or her father's home, uh, but at a transcendental level, at a symbolic level, it is considered as a departure from an earthly transitory life to a transcendental home, which is equated with the home of the in laws. So, there is an esoteric meaning embedded in this composition, as the bride's departure from her Babul or father's home at the surface level also has a transcendental meaning. It is considered as a departure of the ephemeral being from an earthly transitory life and an entry into a transcendental home. And this afterlife is equated with the home of the in laws, right? So, the ritualistic sending away of the bride in the traditional contexts in the South Asian part of the world is similar to the funeral in a way. So, when a bride goes away, there is a kind of the ritual of all the female companions and female kith and kin crying, which is almost similar to the uh, death in a family, to the funeral. So in both these occasions, the kith and kin cry. However, the occasion of the bride going away is celebrated as an auspicious event. So, the ritualistic sending away of the bride in a traditional context uh, in the Indian subcontinent, in the South Asian context, is very much similar to the funeral. In both events, the kith and kin cry. In the case of the bride's departure, uh, especially the female companions and the female relatives cry. However, the bride's departure from Babul's home is considered and celebrated as an auspicious event, unlike the funeral. Let's take a look at the lyrics. First, the original one and then the translated version. So, the original one goes as follows: काहे को ब्याही विदेश सुन बाबुल मेरे, भाइयों को देने महल दो महले, मुझको दिया परदेस रे सुन बाबुल मेरे. हम तोरे बाबुल आंगन की चिड़िया, रैन बसे उड़ जाए रे सुन बाबुल मेरे. हम तोरे बाबुल बेलाय की कलिया, घर घर मांगी जाए रे सुन बाबुल मेरे. काहे को ब्याही विदेश सुन बाबुल मेरे, तक भरी मैनी गुरी जो छोरी, तो छोरा सहेलियों का साथ रे सुन बाबुल मेरे. ओल का पर्दा उठाकर जो देखा तो आया पराया परदेस रे सुन बाबुल मेरे. ये देख खुसरो ये मुख बोले, जम जम रहो सुहाग रे सुन बाबुल मेरे. When translated to English, it goes as follows: Why hast thou married me in a foreign soil? Listen, O my father, to my brothers thou gave several palaces. To me thou gave the foreign soil. Listen, O my father, I am, O father, like birds in thy courtyard. When night falls, they fly away. Listen, O father, I am, O father, like the little birds of jasmine. Every home seeks them. Listen, O my father, why hast thou married me in foreign soil? Listen, O my father, a mantle full of dolls that I left all my female friends. Listen, O my father, lifted I the cover from my palanquin to see the arrival of another's foreign soil. Listen, O my father, having seen this, Khusro says, may thou always be blessed in matrimony. Listen, O my father. So it's a child bride being married away to a foreign land, to a stranger, and it's a lamentation. It's almost a rueful, a lamenting tone that informs the entire lyrics, right? She still plays with dolls. She's leaving her childhood friends behind, and she keeps, repeating this refrain, "Risun Babul Mere." There is a kind of pleading in this repetition. Why do you even send me to the foreign land? The other way around can also be explained, where the ephemeral life is the life at the home of the in-laws, the unknown home where one is separated from the Babul or the god, right? So a reunion, an urgent reunion with the god, is something that the young bride, the devotee, craves for, to go back from where she has come. So Babul can also be seen as the god, right, from whose home everyone has come to live a temporary life on earth as an ephemeral being. So earth as the sasural or the in-laws home, from where one will once again go back uh, to the original home of the god. So we find the aesthetic construction and the sociolinguistic context of this melody as extremely moving, full of pathos, especially uh, when it is understood that a young female narrator, a child bride, is narrating this entire poem. The song where the child bride calls herself as the bird in her father's courtyard or the bud in his jasmine recurs often in other poets' writings as well. In several vernacular languages, we see this concept of Babul using these metaphors where the child being sent away is compared with the birds in the father's courtyard or the flowers blooming in his garden, right? These are some of the familiar metaphors for the audience. The mantle full of dolls that the child bride is leaving behind, or when she lifts the cover of her palanquin, she finds herself in an unknown land, in the unknown home of her in laws. These form some very powerful and familiar social symbols. And regardless of, uh, region or religion, in the South Asian context, this trope, this theme and melody of Babul is has been extensively used. It has been extensively used. These themes can be called as cultural notes. In the words of T.S. Eliot, these themes, uh, these pan South Asian themes, can be called as cultural notes. These are the contexts that the poets such as Amir Khusrau, Mirabai, and even Guru Nanak, they are all coming from different traditions, from different schools, celebrating, gods of different communities, uh, but using these common metaphors. So we see that a number of poets coming from different backgrounds, different schools, celebrating gods of different communities, uh, use these metaphors, the metaphor of Babul, for instance, the metaphor of Rang, for instance, right? Um, A number of poets belonging to the Bhakti and Sufi traditions addressed through female metaphors and female poetic conventions their desire, their longing for uniting with the God. So, a number of poets from the Bhakti and Sufi traditions addressed their desire, their longing to unite with the God using female metaphors and female poetic conventions. In the modern times, we see Pandit Ravi Shankar and Ustad Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan have created something quite similar, uh, which can be compared with the impact of Amir Khusrau's poems or Mirabai's poems or Guru Nanak's poems, uh, where they are mixing their own native linguistic and musical resources with the world music. There is a pan global musical and cultural exchange. There is a wonderful and very interesting, remarkable phenomenon happening as a result of such exchanges, such pan global exchanges, right? As a vocalist, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan generated one of the largest qawwali repertoires in the Pakistani languages, especially in Punjabi, and he has used the female voice as the dominant one in most of his qawwalis. The female voice is dominant. Sakhi is a favorite word in Khusrau's as well as many other uh, Sufi poets' mystical poetry, and it is also, commonly available in qawwalis. So women use it in an intimate context to address to each other, especially in geet, in qawwali forms. Another theme that is very common in Sufi expression, in Sufi lyrics, is Pia. Pia, or the beloved, is a theme that recurrently appears in Hindi love poetry, and it is almost a staple expression in Sufi lyrics. So, the speaker in the lyric of the Pia theme is a female, and this female is supplicating, she's beseeching to Hazrat Muinuddin Chishti of Ajmer. Uh, However, the songs are very interestingly sung by by the male musicians and vocalists, right? Persona of the narrator is a feminized one. It's a female speaker within the frame of the lyrics. The songs are sung by male vocalists and musicians. When Sufi lyrics are performed in the diaspora before a multicultural audience, uh, the language also gets mixed in order to attract a larger crowd. We see that the linguistic codes are Khari Boli or Hindi mixed with some bit of Punjabi. So, this is how a lyric goes, a poem goes based on the theme of Pia. मंगत मंगत सामे गुजरियो पहन के गले कफन में दर पे जागी ख्वाजा की जोगनिया में बन जागी सखी मोर ख्वाजा से कहियो दिखा दो जो कुछ उठा के घूंघटिया. When translated to English, it goes like this: a lifetime have I begged, wearing a shroud around my neck, I shall go to thy doorstep. Khwaja's Jogan, or female disciple, I shall become. O female friend, tell my Khwajaji, show whatever, lift thy veil. Right. So once again, the symbol of veil comes. The veil on the self-knowledge, the preceptor, the murshid is responsible for removing this earthly veil, this veil of distraction, and show us or manifest the true knowledge in front of us, the disciple, right? That's what the this feminized persona, this Jogania is begging, and this friend becomes the channel. The female friend listens to her, her fervid desire to meet the Khwajaji, right? So the lyric would have been sung in the same gender, applying the same linguistic codes and style in Amir Khusrau's time, around 13th and 14th centuries. However, one understands that the musical instruments would perhaps have been somewhat different. This is because the modern day qawwal parties are also using a lot of electronic devices in addition to the traditional instruments, right? We will harp more on this topic in our next class. Thank you.